I'm going to tell you what's happening with European air travel right now, why it matters to you specifically, and what you can actually do about it. Because I'm watching this unfold in real time. I live here and I have flights booked. And the situation is genuinely more complicated than anything I've seen in the years I've been traveling. This isn't a panic video, but it is a pay attention video. And I'll give you real usable information, not the kind of vague check with your airline advice that doesn't actually help anyone. Let's start with Germany, because Germany is the hub of European aviation. Frankfurt and Munich are two of the biggest connection airports on the continent. A massive percentage of flights into and out of Europe route through them. Germany has been in labor crisis for months. The public sector union Verdi called a 24-hour strike earlier this month that shut down 11 major airports simultaneously. Frankfurt canceled all departures, Munich, Berlin, Hamburg, all of them the same day. Over 3,400 flights gone, around 150,000 passengers affected in a single day. Then the pilots union at Lufthansa called their own separate strike. Then cabin crew walked out. We are currently on what is effectively the third major aviation disruption in Germany in just a few weeks. This is a wage dispute that has not been settled, which means more disruptions are possible into the summer, which is exactly when millions of people have tickets booked, like me. Okay, so if your itinerary touches Germany like mine does, either as a destination or a connection, you need to be monitoring this. Now, here's the part that is genuinely serious and is not getting the mainstream attention it deserves. Europe may be running out of jet fuel. On April 16th, the head of the International Energy Agency stated publicly that Europe has approximately 6 weeks of jet fuel remaining. That takes us into late May, early June, the beginning of the peak summer travel season. The cause of this, of course, is the Strait of Hormuz. It's a narrow body of water between Iran and the Arabian Peninsula. About 1/5 of the world's oil travels through it, including the jet fuel that powers European aviation. That strait has been effectively closed since late February due to the conflict involving Iran. Europe was sourcing roughly 75% of its overseas jet fuel through that corridor. The Airports Council International Europe, which represents over 600 airports, wrote a formal letter to the European Commission warning that shortages could begin emerging in early May if tanker traffic doesn't resume. Airlines are already rationing. Scandinavian Airlines has canceled flights outright. British Airways has been merging short-haul routes. The logic airlines use when they choose is straightforward. They protect the long-haul, high-revenue routes first. The transatlantic flights, the Asia routes, the intra-European short hops, the ones Americans use to move around once they've landed, those are the ones that get cut. The European Commission said this week there's no evidence of fuel shortages right now. And that is technically true in the same way that there's no evidence of a flood while it is still raining. Industry groups are watching it weekly. The situation is live. If you're traveling in Europe right now, the main thing is don't operate on assumptions. Your next flight might be fine, but you want to know before you get to the airport, not at the gate. Check your flight status regularly in the days leading up to departure. Know your airline's rebooking policy. Under EU 261, the European Union's passenger rights regulation, if your flight is canceled, the airline is required to offer you rebooking on the next available flight or a full refund. If the cancellation is the airline's fault rather than extraordinary circumstances, you may be also entitled to cash compensation. It's depending on the route distance. The extraordinary circumstances clause is the gray area. Airlines will try to classify a fuel shortage as outside their control. Whether that holds up legally is another question. But practically speaking, in a widespread crisis, your options in the moment are going to be limited. So the real strategy is having a backup that doesn't require airline cooperation. Europe has excellent overland infrastructure. Trains, long-distance buses, Flixbus covers enormous amounts of the continent, and ferries. For most destinations within Europe, you can get there without flying. I'm looking into that. It takes longer, sometimes significantly longer, but it is not a crisis if you know it's an option before you need it. Look at your itinerary. For each flight segment, ask yourself, is this canceled? If this is canceled, what is the overland route? How long does it take? What does it cost? Do that research now, not the night before. If you're in the US planning a Europe trip for summer or fall, here's my honest read. I'm not telling you not to go. I'm telling you to book differently than you might have in 2019. Flexible fares are worth a premium right now. A flight that costs a little more but can be canceled or changed without fees is a different product than a cheap, non-refundable ticket. And this is the environment where that difference matters. Travel insurance, real travel insurance, not the thin coverage that comes bundled with credit cards, is worth looking at. Specifically, you want cancel for any reason coverage, or at minimum, coverage that addresses flight cancellation due to airline side issues. Book accommodations with free cancellation for the first few nights of any segment, especially anything that depends on a flight connection. Don't use a non-refundable Airbnb the same night as a flight you're not certain of. Think about your entry point. A lot of American flights connect through Frankfurt or Munich, mine. You can also connect through Lisbon, Amsterdam, Rome, Istanbul, Vienna, Budapest, Warsaw. There are non-German options, and right now that's worth considering. And think about what your itinerary actually requires. If you want to see multiple countries, consider building in more ground travel and fewer flights. Train travel in Europe is often faster, city center to city center. It's often faster than flying once you account for airport time. And right now it's also more predictable. Here's the bigger picture, because I think it's worth saying directly. European aviation has been structurally fragile for several years. The pandemic gutted staffing. It never fully recovered. Labor disputes have become a recurring feature of every summer season, not an exception. And the infrastructure was already running close to capacity before a geopolitical event cut off a quarter of the world's oil supply. None of that means your trip is doomed. Most flights will still operate. Most travelers will get where they're going. But the margin for error is smaller than it's been in a long time. And the people who will feel that the most are the ones who built no flexibility into their plans, who booked everything non-refundable, assumed every connection was guaranteed, and didn't have a backup. Don't be that person. I'll put some links in the description to EU 261 passenger rights information, Overland travel resources, and how to track flight disruptions in real time. Go look at them before you need them.